sir.
Okay. All right. Well, first off, thank you very much for joining us. This is the second, you'd be surprised with the technical difficulties that we had, but it's the second virtual webinar that we've had for Cornfed Coaching. What we typically do is we jump right in. So if you just want to introduce yourselves, talk about how you got started in soccer and what you're currently doing in the game, that would be great.
You want me to go first, Tiff, or what do you think? Okay, well, my name is Adelaide Gay. I am a goalkeeper. I'm from New Jersey originally. I went to Yale and then UNC. I've been playing professionally since then this is my 8th season, and I'm currently in Norway playing. Well, not playing yet, but hopefully soon. And I'm half of the co-founding team of duKTiG brand. So I also coach as mostly a goalkeeper coach, but I just got my C license. So those are the things I'm doing in the game.
Awesome.
My name's Tiffany Weimer. I'm from North Haven, Connecticut. I went to Penn State where I was able to play 4 years of college soccer. After that, obviously there wasn't a pro league back in the early 2000s. So I had to figure out how to keep playing and stay alive in my career while leagues came up and WPS came about, NWSL came about. I've played pro for 12 years, and I had a great career in my eyes. And then I've been involved in starting a few companies, the latest being duKTiG brand. I'm 3/4 of the co-founder of duKTiG brand, which, you could do the math. And thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We always like to get right into it. So, the 3/4 co-founder, this will be interesting.
The one is the bank account. So
This is a family-friendly podcast, so let's not get
Very good.
too into it. So how did the meeting of the minds happen, and how did duKTiG come to be about?
Well, we first met when we were playing for the Portland Thorns back in 2013. And then fast forward to 2016, we were playing on the same team overseas in Sweden. And so that's when the idea kind of fully came about. We were discussing how there wasn't really a soccer-specific notebook that had the field drawn in and was nice and cool. And so, I mean, there's a lot that went into it, obviously, but we kind of started talking to companies about whether they would make this, and eventually one company was like, no, but we'll sell you a bunch of them. And so then we kind of kept discussing, and we were like, well, should we just buy a bunch and see if other people want them as well? And that's where it really started, and that's why it's called duKTiG, because it's a Swedish word, and that's where we were at the time. I'll let Tiff talk about duKTiG because it was her idea, the word itself.
Well, funny story too, I'll say, and Addie, I don't know if we're supposed to tell people this, but we were 100% selling notebooks before we ever actually had a notebook. And I think, Addie, your dad always likes that story because he doesn't really think it's a possibility. But we had trust in this company, and it all worked out. But the word duKTiG, it actually means to be good at something. And when you're a professional player overseas and you're American, you hear a lot of words and you don't know what they mean. And you just sometimes nod your head and say, okay, somebody's saying good job maybe, or somebody's saying good game, but you're not really sure. So I heard the word duKTiG a lot. Addie, I don't know if you did. But people would come up to us and say, duKTiG, good, like you did good, you're good. And I was like, oh, that's a cool word. I like it. I like how it looks. I like how it sounds. Maybe that's something that we can incorporate into the company. And, we figure that, to be good at something, you have to work hard. You have to be organized. You have to have some kind of path that you're on. It's not just, one day you wake up and you're like, this is what I want to do, and hopefully I figure it out. So a big part of our company is obviously planning and being organized. And if people have goals that they want to accomplish, it's a good start to write them down.
So when you developed the notebook, or when you were thinking about developing a notebook, you were both playing professionally? Were you both coaching at all?
Yes.
Oh, you were both coaching at all? You were both coaching.
So you might have heard about some of the salaries that women's players get,
Recently,
and the idea that we have to have other jobs while we're playing. So one of the more convenient ones is actually coaching because of the time. So young players are not in school in the evening, and that's when their training sessions are. And obviously we're training and playing in the mornings. So it works out, especially when we're in the US. And so we've actually done a lot of coaching before we became, well, she's still playing, but before I became an actual coach.
Were the
sorry, go on, John. Go ahead.
Were the first iterations of the notebook, were they player-centered or were they coach-centered, or kind of a combination? Or
that was my question.
Great minds think alike, Jack. That's why we do it together, baby.
So I think the first, obviously we developed it because we needed it. I've always written down everything, and especially when you're watching film of the game that you just played in, or you go to a session and you really like one of the drills your coach did, I always want to write them down so I can remember them to use them myself as a coach, or if I'm just have to run a session for myself. And so really it was designed because we needed it. And I've always, and I think Tiff is very much the same, I've always had the kids that I coach keep a notebook because I really believe in it. I believe in the idea of writing things down and reflecting after training, even if it's just a few lines, just to remember how you felt about certain things. And so it's kind of like it gets passed down the line, right? My coaches always made me write things down, and then I'm always making my players write things down. And I think that was one of the things that we were kind of the most passionate about. But on the flip side, it's obviously a really easy, I don't want to say sell, but a really good fit for coaches. And so we developed it because we needed it as players and as coaches. But it really took off among coaches, especially the first, the trainer, because it was the most basic.
Well, I will say also, just to add to that, we made it in a way that was simple so that it could be used for, whatever you wanted. I think that the more, the more specific something is, like, the less it is for everybody, of course. That I made that try to sound really sophisticated, and it was so stupid. So feel free to take that out.
I was going to ask you, what does set you guys apart from other specific notebooks? So I think you kind of answered that as far as putting the soccer field in and some of the things you guys are doing now. So what was kind of the evolution? Did you guys plan on just having the notebook and then that was kind of it? Because you guys have added so many products from then until now.
I would say that we initially didn't have a plan. I don't know if people have business plans when they start and they do all this stuff, but we kind of jumped in and hope for the best. But the thing that we both have always talked about is that we don't know everything, and we can't say that this is what everybody needs and this is what everybody wants. So one of the biggest aspects of our company is the fact that we seek information, we seek advice and feedback constantly, because nobody knows what they want more than the people who are out there on the fields. Obviously we are, but not to the same extent as some others. And there's so many different kinds of coaches that everybody wants something different and needs something different. So if we were the ones to say, this is what you need, who are we to say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's really how it started to evolve into more products. We put out our first one and everyone said, I need a bigger one. And then everybody said, I want a pocket size one. And then everyone was like, these all need to be waterproof. And so that's how everything kind of, how the products spread into more products than just the one.
I will say the waterproof is the clutch feature.
Yeah, the DLX is
in Iowa. It rains all the time.
I was actually doing a quiz the other day with my family back home, and me and my wife are using the DLX to write down our answers. And I had a beer, and she spilled the beer over it, and she was like, "Oh no, our answers." I'm like, "Don't even worry." Just wiped it right off, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, waterproof. Don't worry about it."
That's
awesome.
That's the new product, the beer quiz.
Beer quiz.
The beer quiz.
We'll use that testimonial. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, free to use it, no problem.
Quarantine edition. So as Jack kind of mentioned, and with all the different products, it's become obviously it's duKTiG brand, but talk about the community that it's kind of fostered, that's kind of rallied around and galvanized because of not just the one product, because obviously it's spanned beyond that, but just because what you guys represent and everything.
Well, I think, like I said, we kind of created this product because we needed it. And I don't necessarily think it was until we went to the United Soccer Coaches Convention in 2018. I think it was 2018. And we started to meet all these people who had our notebooks, and they were showing them to us like, look at all the notes I took. And some of them were meticulous, and some they're like, I have the new Excel. And it was just really, really cool to see their notes and how passionate they were about planning and coach education and getting better. And on our way back from that convention, remember Tiff was like, we need to do something for them. We need to do something more for them. I really think we need to develop a membership. And, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, oh, it's kind of, you know, everybody has a membership. Everybody has something that's like, you know, you join it and you get who knows what. You get points that accumulate and then you never use them or whatever. And so we wanted it to be a little bit more in depth of a membership. And that was really our starting point. And so, I mean, we have an application process, and, you know, I wouldn't say that it's like the highest hurdle in the world. It's just sort of, you know, we want to know that that you're our kind of people. And, you know, it's grown for the past 3 years. At this point, Tiff is getting stretched to the limit in terms of packing all of the member gifts each year. But it's been probably the best part of the company. I don't know, Tiff, if you would agree with that. Really, just the interaction that we get with the coaching community has been the best part for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we had a very one-sided view of the soccer community being pro players and, you know, our little bubble that we lived in. And it's been so awesome to be able to meet people from every aspect of the game, and not just the US, but all over the world. I think that I've learned so much about the people involved in the game and what everyone's trying to do, and things that we can offer people, that I hope that the membership continues to grow. It's definitely been one of my favorite parts too.
Yeah, and it's a great thing. And with the Slack app as well, I like to go through there and see some of people's ideas, and some people come up with some crazy stuff and some people come up with some really good stuff. So it's interesting to see what people are kind of thinking, especially with everyone that does have duKTiG. So.
Yeah, at this time, especially now, because we've done a few more webinars and brainstorms and stuff, just because people want them during this time. I've really enjoyed the brainstorms a lot, because you really get all the different perspectives of what people are looking for. You know, you might get like the older generation and the younger generation, and it's so interesting, and there's so much in common, but there's obviously so much that's different. So I've really, really enjoyed that.
What's the craziest idea you've got so far?
It's probably one of Tiff's.
I know, I'm trying to think of what it would be.
I saw someone do a backpack. Someone wanted to do a backpack, and then they put a really big one to put everything in it.
Yeah.
Probably the backpack has been my craziest idea, or like a whiteboard that is digital.
Ambitious.
Think of it, and it appears on paper.
Pair of Apple or something.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So Adelaide, Yeah. So Adelaide, you're in Norway right now. What are the restrictions and lockdowns and everything like that? What are you kind of doing?
So I actually feel like I got pretty lucky. We're allowed to do small group trainings. So there are, no more than 4 people, and you have to stay 2 meters from each other, and they have to disinfect everything before and after. So it's pretty strict. You can't change at the field or go to the bathroom at the field or basically do anything other than play. But it's better than nothing, which is what's happening in a lot of places. So I definitely got lucky. Obviously, it started a little bit sooner here than in the US. So, and Norway in general has been pretty, obviously it spiked early, but since then it's been pretty low numbers and decreasing. And the region of the country that I'm in is very, very, very low numbers. So I got really, really lucky.
And Tiffany, you're in Connecticut, right? So what are the things that I've seen a lot on social media? You're kicking a ball and doing things. So what's some of the advice that you would give to some of the players that are struggling with lockdown and kind of want to get out there and struggle to practice on their own with no motivation, really?
I think that obviously it's hard if you don't really enjoy it in the first place. So I think one of the most important questions you have to ask yourself is, do I really want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely days where it's harder to do stuff that you know is good for you, like drink water or do a strength session or, go to sleep early. We all have those, but we know that it's good for us, and we know the majority of the time that we're probably going to do the right thing. So I think the first question for young players is, do you really want to do this? It's okay if you don't. I think the pressure that people put on kids to do something all the time. And, I think it's so hard to see, some players have all the resources in the world, full-size goals in their backyard, turf in their front lawn. Some kids don't have that. Some kids, all they have is inside of their little apartment maybe. And I think the most important thing is to remember that you can do a lot of things without the ball. You can watch games like crazy. You can watch your own games if you have them filmed. You can do little touches in your bedroom. I love the base of my bed. I just kick the ball against there all the time, even if it might not be improving my game necessarily, but it's given me this confidence that I have a relationship with the ball, and I'm never going to lose that. The thing I tell people all the time now is I've had 3 knee surgeries. So during knee surgeries, you can't do anything with the ball. You can't physically do anything. And I think that, when you come back, you have a new leg. It's not even the same. And when I come back, usually I have a pretty good base because of what I've done before. And it comes back. It doesn't go away. So for all the people that are worried or stressed, you'll get it back. That's the best advice I could give you.
Awesome. And then same question to Adelaide too. What are the kind of things that you do on your own, especially being in a professional setting? Is there things that the club sets you, or do you just do it on your own?
Yeah, I think, everybody's putting out all these different workouts and stuff. And in the beginning, I was definitely tempted to start doing random stuff. And I think for a couple of weeks, I kind of, floated out there and was doing all this, different stuff, which was fun and interesting. But especially in the last month or so, I've kind of tried to stick to the same plan that I was already on and that the club gives out. So they have given us our running, and I have my lifts from before, and we have our small group training. And obviously a lot of it is modified. So, the lift, I'm using the base of mannequins and, these stones on ropes and a backpack full of books, but I can do essentially the same lift, just, really modified. And I write down in my trainer, today I did 20 squats with the mannequin. And then, next week I try to do the mannequin and my backpack or whatever. But I feel like it's structured so that, I don't wake up and have to decide what to do and then decide how many to do and then decide, the more decisions you have to make, the more of a chance you're going to falter at a hurdle. If you already wake up and you know what you're supposed to do, it's a lot easier. And if you want to change something in the middle, you can, but at least you have a plan. So I would say having a plan is probably my biggest tip for getting through this. Even if it's just completely modified and different. Just knowing what you're going to do means you're going to do something. And that's the half the battle.
Perfect. All right. So we have a couple more questions. So what can coaches and players, if you want to tackle each or kind of divide and conquer, what can coaches and players benefit, not just from using duKTiG, but just reflecting, kind of, as you mentioned earlier, Adelaide, of reflecting on sessions or preparing and using notebooks and specifically duKTiG to help them advance in the game or better themselves in general?
You got it.
3/4 of the company.
Okay, I'll do for players, and then maybe you can do for coaches. So I think when I was younger, I had a few coaches that made me write stuff down. One was Karina LeBlanc. She lived with my family and for a little while, and she always made us write down like 2 or 3 things we did well and 2 or 3 things that we wanted to improve on, and things that we learned. And for some reason, I always found it difficult to write down the things that I had done well. And I find that that's the same a lot of times with the players that I'm coaching. I'll ask, what did you do well today? And it's like, I've asked them the most complicated math question you've ever asked in your whole life. They're like, oh, what am I good at? And so it's so interesting to see that that's the thing that they stumble on the most. But I think it's really important to know what you're good at and know what you want to improve on, and to write down something that you learned after each session. And I had other coaches. I remember Soccer Plus goalkeeper camps that you always brought a notebook and you took notes during lectures in the evening. And I always wrote down the drills that I did. And I think, again, it's a little bit what I was saying with having a plan. I think if you're writing something down, it's just making you think about it, making it more real, and it's keeping it for the long term. So, you can sit there and you can think about the session in your head. That's fine. But I think when you're writing something down, it forces you to really reflect on what were the good parts, what are the things I want to work on, how can I problem solve a little bit for next time. And then, the same thing, if you're going through something that's difficult and you write it down and you're like, I pulled my quad, this is how it feels today or whatever. And then 2 years from now, you pull your quad again. You can kind of look back and see, how did I deal with that kind of thing in the past? And so I think there's a lot of benefits from a player's perspective of writing things down. But those would be my main 2, is sort of, it forces you to think about it and it keeps it for the long term. So.
Awesome.
And I would say for coaches, it's really important to, be prepared, especially for sessions. A lot of coaches do a good job of preparing for games because for them, that's the big event. That's the time where everybody sees all the work they've done. But, sometimes during the week, coaches are running from one session to the next or from their real job to their coaching. And, it's not always easy to be prepared for your session. And what I've found as a coach is that if I'm prepared for my session, 100% prepared, and I know things go wrong and you might have to make adjustments, then I can focus on the players as people. And I'm not constantly thinking about, should the field be bigger, or shoot, I don't know if I have enough cones, or where are all the pennies, okay, everything is written down. I know exactly what I need for this session. I know exactly where it is. I know the kids that are coming. I know what drills we're going to do. And I can say, hey, how are you today? How are you today? And have conversations with them as people. So now it just makes your job easier, and you can do more. You can be more, and that's one of the things that I've learned by using our own products in a real life environment now, that I'm able to be more productive.
Yeah, I know that's definitely one thing that I never ever used a notebook. I was terrible in school. When I played, I never wrote anything down. But when I did my C license, somebody had a duKTiG, and I asked them what it was, and I kind of got involved, and I purchased one, and I don't think I've ever not written anything down now as a coach. And it does help me massively as far as remembering things, being organized, and I just write everything in it too. So even my quiz questions and quiz answers. So thank you for that. So typically, yeah. So typically we end with every podcast with your favorite soccer memory. It can be from as a coach or as a player or just anything general in soccer. So Adelaide, if you want to go first.
Are we talking about like that we're involved in, or?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could be involved.
Sorry, I'm very analytical. Okay.
Your favorite memory of
I would have to say winning at like an NCAA national championship at UNC. That moment was just. Well, I know. I mean, yeah. I just.
Who'd you play in the final?
Do you know the answer?
No.
Oh, Penn State.
Oh, that's what okay.
Yeah.
I was not on that team though.
No.
Otherwise, it would have been a different outcome, and you would have different memory.
Yeah. No, that was just the
clean sheet.
No, actually.
Oh.
All right, but in the semifinal was the hard game. It was like double, it was like double overtime, and we won 1-0. So that was
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Was a good memory.
I have a lot of memories, but just a long career. I honestly got chills that I did not expect to happen when I was playing my first Champions League game and I heard the music play over the loudspeaker. And it's totally different. You know, there's like 100 people in the stands and you have a little kid in front of you who has no clue who you are. And, the song feels the same and the feeling is the same, no matter if you're at, Old Trafford or we were playing actually in Scotland we were playing against, what's the team in Scotland? Why am I having a blank?
Glasgow City.
Glasgow City.
Glasgow City. Yeah.
Glasgow City. And yeah, it was a small stadium, but it was unbelievable. I had chills.
Who are you playing for?
Fortuna Hjørring in Denmark.
Okay. Gotcha. Sweet. Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
What's your favorite duKTiG product?
There you go.
I like the DLX. I like the DLX for like every day, but when I'm planning out full sessions, I definitely prefer the XL. I just need that much space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same. I use the DLX for my like personal notebook, and I use the GK when I'm coaching goalkeepers because it's just perfect for,
I like the 5-color pen.
Oh yeah, I definitely. Mine's somewhere.
I use that a lot. My wife uses it too.
We have a few ideas in the works, but hopefully we'll have something for you to put the notebooks in at some point. And, if I keep saying it out loud, then maybe it'll
write it down. You got to write it down.
It's more convincing somebody. I don't know where she is on your screen.
Right here. Perfect. Well, guys, thanks for coming on. Awesome. We appreciate your time. Also, thanks for being a part of our soccer walls as well. Those guys that are watching, we've got some new walls coming out that involve technique as well. So that'd be a great thing for the kids, especially during this lockdown quarantine period. So thanks for coming on.